Alright guys, back with today's video. I've already eaten. It's currently 9:45. I'm going to have some dark chocolate. However, I have not and will not work out today. I would have worked out today. However, I'm completely drained of energy. Sleep was pretty good actually. I went to bed at 12:15, woke up at 8. So 7 hours 45 minutes of sleep. However, I had to wake up at around 3, 4 to go to the toilet, which completely ruined the constant deep sleep. So now working out, taking some day off, and well, taking today off, and it's definitely good, to take breaks periodically, just to make sure that you're recovering well psychologically from all the lifting, and physically, of course. Overall physical recovery is important before you go out and push. I do think I am going to be deloading soon, meaning I'm gonna push less weights in the gym as I normally do. However, I'll definitely have to do some research. If you guys know some tips, definitely go down below and comment it, and I'll definitely have a look. I'm gonna enjoy this dark chocolate first. 75% dark. Let's check the macros actually. 2 pieces will give me 1 gram of protein. That is so bad. 7.7 grams of fat, which saturated is 5 grams. 10 grams of carbohydrates. 9 grams of sugar. 2 grams of fiber. And of course that 1 gram of protein. 1.3. Don't eat this then. I just had this at home, so. Yes, today I got a nice video for y'all, even though this is a rest day. I'm going to be reviewing books that I've read over the past couple of years. I'm not a big reader, I don't read a lot. However, my passion for reading stems from the fact that there are a lot of amazing self-help books out there. Am I in focus? I just put the camera in auto ISO. I think I look much brighter. Hope there's not that much grain. As I was saying, my love for reading books stems from the fact that there's a lot of great self-help books, and I believe that people need self-help books. I mean, to learn from other individuals, their experiences, and seek inspiration from it is definitely something everybody should do. And if reading books makes you less prone to be on your phone to scroll, man, you should be reading every single day, then I think I look pretty bright. I don't know why. So that's why. Everybody should be reading books. Everybody should be learning from books, but always be open-minded. There are going to be some books that you may or may not like. You still have to read those if they have good reviews, and you gotta read every type of views. You can't be stuck with one single view. Something you read increases your retention if you go and talk about it, if you implement it. The things that you learn through the book will be cemented in your brain. So definitely make sure the things that you read and learn are good, objectively speaking, morally speaking. And you should have a great time reading books. Let's start off with the first book I have ever read. It was a book recommended. It was a book recommended by my friend, and I don't actually have it. It's called 8 Habits of Highly Successful People. I think that is the name. Yeah, it's called 8 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. I don't have the book, but I've read the physical book. This book, I started reading it like this was literally the first book, the first self-help book that I've started reading, and there's a really there are great tips in this book, you know. As the name says, 8 Habits of Highly Effective People. It talks about a variety of habits and ways of thinking and ways of approaching matters in your life, how you should rank tasks, most important, most important but not restricted by time, or least important but there's more importance to it. So I can't explain it. It's one of those books that you need to read every single year to really get a grasp of what is being taught. But yeah, there are a bunch of this type of books in the list that I have and books that I've read, which you have to read regularly, you know? Alright, next book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a... Well, this book is great. I mean, what can I say about this book? It's definitely one of those books that is like hyped, you know, a lot of people said it's hyped by Mark Manson. I think he does he does YouTube, you know, he's a YouTuber as well, if I'm not mistaken, and he has a bunch of videos. This is a great book if you just want to, if you feel like starting something but you're not starting it because of some random reason, read this book. It's going to teach you that literally nothing matters, which kind of isn't a great message, but the way he has delivered it is great. I mean, you shouldn't care about what other people think. You just have to do it, you know. I wouldn't say this is like a business minded book, you know. It's more of a general book where it says just you don't need to care, you know. I just opened up a page and it says, I highlighted it. It just says, it just means that you're not special, you know. He kind of tries to deliver a book where he talks about, where he gives you motivation by showing you that nobody's important and nobody's that special and everybody's insignificant and anything that you do doesn't matter, which is a bit morbid. But yeah, he talks about this issue and in a way motivates people to just start, you know, to not care and start, and that you have one life and you're supposed to do everything you want. I guess the things that he says you to start is kind of business related and life related. I mean, he's not telling you to start doing every kind of drugs, you know, it's not like that. But yeah, you get the idea, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have read this book already. Good book. I wouldn't say it's overhyped, but there is some hype aspect to it. Alright, next book I want to talk about is Elon Musk. This is Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, which I have very mixed feelings about this guy. I mean, sometimes he does great stuff, sometimes he does some really stupid stuff, says some stupid stuff, but he's a really smart guy, and to read about his past and his upcoming, I mean, this book is very old. I mean, I think there is a revised version of this book, but this is really early life of Elon Musk and how he developed PayPal and SpaceX and Tesla, which is mind-boggling how somebody can start all of these ventures, and as you can see now, he's really successful. I mean, very controversial individual, but you need people like this that are controversial, and He's not somebody that tries to please his shareholders, which I can respect, but he's a very weird individual, from what he names his kids to the stuff he says. He's a very smart guy, and I guess that's why he's the way he is. But not a big fan of the electric cars, because I don't know, I'm not a big electric guy. I do like the design of the cars, but if it was gas, I mean, would have been much better. And I think it's just the market he tapped into. He saw that electric cars are gonna go up in demand in the next 10 years, and he thought to himself, yeah, let's go for it. I think everybody should read this book if they're into entrepreneurship. I mean, the struggle this guy went through to build what he built is definitely admirable. Big up to this guy, but we'll see where he goes. I mean, he's a weird individual, but a character people like. So I read this book. I actually wrote when I started reading this book and when I ended. And so I read this book in 2018, 11/9, and I finished it on the 21st to 2019. So it took me basically 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. So 6 months to read this. I was a pretty slow reader back then. Still am. What am I saying? Well, yeah, I mean, also this thing, I mean, track how long it takes for you to read a book. I remember sometimes it takes me 2 weeks to 3 weeks to read a book when I'm really into it, but this book I really had to push myself into reading it, because once you start reading, you kind of understand that what's your pace and how you read inside your head and how much of it you understand. I mean, I don't want to be reading mindlessly. I want to understand what I'm reading. So I learned how to read my own way and how to absorb the stuff, you know. Next book, a book I haven't finished, is How Asia Works. This book was recommended by Bill Gates, which again is a more controversial individual. I personally think he's evil. I'm just putting it out there. I think Bill Gates is evil. Maybe he wasn't as evil as he currently is. And why am I saying this? Well, a bunch of reasons. I mean, he wants people to not be able to consume animal protein. He's one of the biggest owners of farmland in the States, which is pretty scary, considering he's an individual that doesn't want people to eat animal protein. He wants them to eat insects and stuff like that, and a bunch of other things, a lot of stuff with vaccine. He was related to Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, so much negativity about Bill Gates. I don't like the guy, so obviously make sure to know or have a background check about anybody you follow and admire, because they might be very dark. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's perfect or everybody has to be perfect. I think in a video I did talk about this. Nobody has to be perfect, but take the good, reject the bad. But however, if it's a guy that's really messed up, I wouldn't even consider taking the good stuff that he has to offer. Anyways, How Asia Works is a great book which talks about, well, basically how Asia works, but most importantly the success, like how did China and Japan become successful after wars and stuff, you know, and how some other Asian countries are not being able to develop themselves. Spoiler alert, basically farming and irrigation and all these advancements help those Asian countries to become the countries that they are today, especially China. Like agriculture, you know, And in human civilizations, and in human civilization, this is how it went. I mean, from agriculture to industrialization to technological advancement. I mean, there's a ladder, and any country that kind of skips the agriculture phase kind of lags behind in the others. It's kind of a thing I read in this book. It's very interesting. I haven't read this in a long time, so I don't know when I'm going to be getting back to it, but it's a book of a lot of knowledge. I opened a page and I have some highlighted stuff. Let's see what it says. This lack of domestic and international political conviction over the importance of household farming in development was the first step towards the relative economic underperformance of the Southeast Asian region. No country bears this out more painfully than the Philippines. You see, just what I was talking about. It just says that the lack of domestic and international policies over farming and stuff like that has led to a underperformance in some Southeast Asian countries, and notably the Philippines, because they were lacking in policies and importance of household farming. That's how it started, basically. Household farming, like the government assigned everybody some land, and they said, you better start farming, boy. They said, you better start farming, and yeah, that's how the country basically improved. I'm not gonna say China is very great. I mean, communist country, no freedom. But who knows? I mean, the next 10 years, China's taking over the world. I mean, the way the West is developing and the way China is developing, I mean, big difference. Kids nowadays in the West want to be TikTokers and vloggers and YouTubers. And in China and in Asia, kids want to be engineers, doctors, especially in China, man. Kids are built different over there. Anyways, next book is The Power of Now. Where to start with this book? I mean, this book helped me a lot when I used to have anxiety. And as this book says, The Power of Now, basically how you should focus on being present now and not think about the future and the past. And this book basically taught me how to not overthink in my own head. Once you read a book, I mean, you absorb some of the knowledge. Once you start applying and once you start talking about it, that's when the knowledge that you've gained starts to solidify inside of you. So because of the fact that I read this book and implemented a lot of the stuff in my life, it helped me. And this book has, every author has a way of writing. This author, Eckhart Tolle, he's Christian, so a lot of the stuff he written is also inspired from the Bible, which I am open to read. It's Christianity is another religion, and as a Muslim, I have no problem reading the Bible to learn. But at the end of the day, the Quran is the last and final revelation. So that is why I'm Muslim. I believe in Islam and not Christianity. But there's a lot of commonality. And reading this book, I did have a sense that a lot of the stuff was from Christianity, a lot of verses from the Bible and Prophet Jesus. A lot of stuff is mentioned. And I say Prophet Jesus because he's a prophet to us Muslims, unlike Christians who believe he's the Son of God, astaghfirullah. But that's another debate, I guess. Very good book. It helped me a lot, and I can't thank it enough. I've learned a lot from this book. However, I guess I might have to read this book again, but not right now. Right now, I'm really happy, and this was the first book towards my, anxiety and stuff. I'm glad I don't have it anymore, and now I'm more able to control it. But not because of this book. Now it's because of other books that I've read, and definitely having a more mature understanding of what anxiety is. And anxiety is basically thinking about the future, something that didn't happen, or something that happened, the past and future, future and past, future and past. So yeah, I mean, Power of Now, Stay in the Moment. Very good book. I recommend it. Now, after I actually read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F-bomb, I watched like a video, and the author Mark Manson actually recommended some books to read that he liked, and this is one of them. Cows, Pigs, Wars and Witches: The Riddles of Culture. This is an interesting book, on the back it says, why do Hindus worship cows? Why do Jews and Muslims refuse to eat pork? Why did so many people in post-medieval Europe believe in witches? And why have witches managed to stage such a successful comeback in today's popular culture? It's a book that basically analyzes why cows, pigs, wars, and witches are seen the way they are seen. I mean, cows, already know, as Muslims we eat cows, but Hindus, they worship them as mothers, which is a bit strange, but that's their culture. And why Muslims and Jews don't eat pork and only eat halal. I mean, even if chicken is, we can't just eat chicken, as Muslims, it has to be sacrificed in the proper way, in the name of the Creator. That goes for any animal that is permissible for us to consume. So, be it cows or chickens, goats, it has to be sacrificed correctly, and then we can eat it. That's why we eat, and that's why we buy from halal certified butchers. A good book to kind of learn and understand these things. It was a very quick read. I mean, quite literally, I wrote here when I finished. I started on the 15th of August 2018, and I finished on 27th August 2018. So it took me a week. It's decent font. Like, it has 250 pages. It's a very good book, very interesting, but I don't really recommend it because it's like the knowledge you get. I mean, it's good. You get a backstory of this, and especially with the why we don't eat pork, why Jews and Muslims don't eat pork. It doesn't have that much depth into the passages of the Quran and Torah. For example, it doesn't give a religious perspective, which kind of, I don't know why, but talks about witches. If you're into that, highly unlikely that you are, but I don't really recommend this book. Another book that I haven't read is Don't Be Sad by Dr. Aid Al-Karni. Don't Be Sad, I couldn't finish it, but the very few pages, I've made it to I've made it this much, so almost half, not quite half, 45% done, but the few pages that, I keep saying few, but the pages that I have read really inspired me. It's definitely a more Islamic-oriented book. Just like The Power of Now, it was a bit Christianity oriented. This is more Islamic oriented, but this book, the difference between this book and The Power of Now is actually, Power of Now, it talks about Christianity, but it doesn't give you a somewhat of a heads up. You know, it doesn't say that, yes, this book has a lot of aspects from a Christian perspective, but it's open for everybody to read. However, don't be sad. The author really mentions that this is a book for anybody, but a lot of the knowledge and wisdom that teaches you why you shouldn't be sad. This book is basically about why you shouldn't be sad. Says that, yeah, it has the perspective of Islam and the Quran. So this book is great. I mean, it gives you a passage from the Quran and then explains it to you and then gives a meaning and translation and transliteration of basically the passage, which shows that you're not meant to be sad, you know. You're not always meant to be happy, but at the same time you're not always meant to be sad in life. But yeah, it's a very beautiful book. Definitely have some knowledge about the Quran before you read this, but I highly recommend this, even though I haven't finished it. Maybe once I finish it, I'll do a summary of this book. Really good book. Maybe if I start reading it again, I'm going to read from the beginning. So yeah, really good book. Alright, next book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. I don't know, it's a good book. Teaches, well, it talks about his life, how he had two dads. His rich dad was a friend of his, his rich dad was basically his friend's dad, who was a well-known businessman or somewhat of a successful businessman, and and his friend's dad wasn't really, you know, didn't have a school degree, yet he was very street smart and was able to develop a business. However, the poor dad is basically his own father, who has a great degree, I mean a master's in something, but isn't rich. So he learned from basically both of his dads, both of these two dads, and I think he asked his friend's dad to be his mentor. I'm not really sure, but it talks a lot about money and how you should think about it and how you should start making it, how you should look at expenses and income, how as a business owner you should pay yourself first, then the expenses. But yeah, I mean, it's a book with a lot of knowledge about finance and how you should invest. Well, not necessarily how you should invest, but why you should invest. You know, now when you invest, definitely make sure you know what you're investing into. I have a friend who's telling me to invest in some crypto, which a friend of his is telling him to invest into. So it's pretty sketchy, you know. So make research before every single investments that you do, but also don't be like, yeah, I'll start tomorrow and never start. I think if you have some money if you're comfortable with losing some money, or if you're comfortable with investing money that you're completely okay to lose, go and invest, you know. It's just a risk thing. How good are you with risk? How bad are you with risk, you know? If you're comfortable risking your money, go invest in things that you haven't made that much research with. But if you want to really invest your money in successful things, definitely do your research and invest. It's a great book. It's a very good book. There are diagrams. Like, you know, here this next page, why the rich gets richer, why the middle class struggles. It's a very good book and everybody should read it. A lot of diagrams, lot of my brother actually completed the activities that you're supposed to do. He read this book, and I've definitely seen some changes in his money management. He's definitely making more money than he was through social media, so that's good. I recommended him this book, and he read it. He liked it. But yeah, I'm surprised he actually did the exercises that are inside. Good book, highly recommend. Alright, this video is getting long, but I have two more books, two physical books that I will be presenting. This one is The Now Habit. I would say this book and The Power of Now is somewhat of it's on the same tangent, but this book is more, let's say, science-based, and it gives you like a program to reduce your procrastination, whereas The Power of Now was basically a book that helps you with anxiety and controlling your mental state. This book is to reduce procrastination. It's a very good book. I did learn. I still procrastinate from time to time. However, my procrastination now, I kind of learned that I work good on deadlines now. Why? Because at least now I have a mental image of when my deadline is, and according to that, even if I'm having fun right now, like my brain knows the ratio of when you have to start, to deliver a good job. Well, this is what I kind of discovered when I was in university, but I did read this book while I was in university, and it kind of helped. I have something marked with a tape. Let's see what it is. How to use the unschedule. Yeah, these are some terms that you have to read the book to understand. It's a great book. It gives you basically a program, a strategic way to help you overcome your procrastination and enjoy moments without any sort of guilt. It provides a lot of steps. I just opened the page. Avoid setbacks. How should you avoid setbacks? Recognize the work of procrastination. Freely choose the entire goal. Create functional, observable goals. Yeah, it just, it's a good book to read. There's definitely way more books about how to overcome procrastination. And procrastination is one part of the problem. I mean, if you lack discipline, of course, you're going to have procrastination issues. But if you develop a good discipline, you automatically overcome procrastination. So I guess instead of reading this book, you should read books that focus on discipline. But I do recommend it. It's a good book. But if you find something better, which talks about discipline or helps you or inspires you to increase and be more disciplined, definitely go for that one. The current book and the last book that I am reading is 48 Powers of Law. This is a great book. Now, I recently listened to two podcasts from Robert Greene, the author of this book, and very nice, humble guy. When you read a book like this, you tell yourself, this guy does not look like the books he writes about. I mean, he's a bit, on the softer side, on like, he's not like this big macho guy, like talks about power and stuff like that. And something I learned from his podcast, the podcast he's done, is that a lot of people get turned off by this book because it has the power, 48 laws of power, and people think that this is all about manipulation and manipulating people to get power and to exert power on individuals. To an extent, it is right, but as human beings, it is it's just ingrained in our brains. It's just we're wired this way to be or to need this, or to have this need for power. And the thing is that power comes in a lot of shapes, shapes and sizes. First is that understanding what power is, kind of get away from the negative connotations of power. Power can be presented as this thing that allows you to have power even over yourself, being able to control yourself in an environment that you cannot control is what this version of power means. Being able to control yourself in an environment that you cannot control. I think I've put it in a really good way. So yeah, this is 48 Laws of Power. Some of the laws I've seen that work amazing. I mean, and it's not even about manipulation. Just completely forget this manipulation aspect. What this book does is it gives you these 48 laws, especially in the first couple of pages. All the laws are basically written, all 48 of them. And it basically gives you a historical example, meaning it gives you an actual example of a specific time in history where that law was used and success was obtained from using this law. It gives you a bunch of examples. Also, as I was saying, a lot of laws that are there I have used subconsciously, and well, not subconsciously, but after reading I've implemented more laws. But I used to use some of the laws that are in this book. Like, there's this law that it's really like literally the first law is never outshine your master. Now, what does this mean? Basically means that suppose in your work environment, never try to be better or look better than your manager or boss, because as human beings we love this, I am in a higher rank than you, you are lower than me. And if your superior sees that you're trying to be better than them in front of anybody else, their ego is gonna get tickled, and they're definitely not gonna look not gonna have a good impression of you, and that's gonna lead you to a less successful career. So yeah, I mean, a very good book. I wish, and maybe I will make a video completely about this book because I love this book so much. Just another law I want to talk about that really everybody should implement is that, where's the one? I mean, I want to read it the way it is. It's about basically not talking too much. It's about not yapping too much, basically. Yeah, it's basically the fourth law. It's always say less than necessary. Don't yap, that's basically what it is. And I've implemented this law in my life, and it's like a very big difference, and you get to understand yourself as well. But yeah, this is a great book. I'm definitely gonna finish it. I highly recommend it. Really, like, this is the second book you should read, or go for this book straight on. First book you should definitely read is 8 Habits of Highly Effective People. I recommend that book to everybody. Maybe I have somewhat of a soft side because it was the first self-help book that I've read. But second, I recommend this, 48 Laws of Power. It's an amazing book. This author has 3 more books. The Art of Seduction. I don't know. It's about how men should seduce women, and actually how women can seduce men as well. It has negative connotations, but I heard in the podcast that it's not what you think, it's not about how you can seduce. Some chapters are about seduction, but it's also more about how to let your guard down and to be able to let yourself into somebody's life and to know when to exit from that life when you see things are becoming toxic, so stuff like that. Then he has Mastery, which Andrew Huberman says helped, basically shaped his life, which is very admirable. So Mastery is a book that he has, and another book that he wrote with 50 Cent, apparently, the rapper, The 50th Law. 50th Law, with 50 Cent. But yeah, I mean, amazing book, highly recommended. And this was it for all the physical books that I have read in the last couple of years. It's a good list of books, except few books that I haven't read. All of them I've read. I've read a bunch of books on my phone, so maybe on the next rest day, I'll basically talk about it. I've read some great books by David Goggins and The Power of Money, The Psychology of Money and stuff like that. Definitely another book that I highly recommend is David Goggins' book, some great stuff. Won't bore you with that right now. It's 10, I need to edit this video, but yeah, it's gonna be kind of a long one. But yeah, these are all the books that I've read, that I've enjoyed reading, that I've learned from, and I hope that anybody watching this will take some of the recommendations I've made. But yeah, I mean, today was rest day. I am fully nourished, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with hopefully a back workout, but tomorrow I work, so we'll see how it goes. I want to keep it. I don't want to completely reduce my workouts. I'm still gonna push myself, but I do feel like I need a deload, so we'll see about that. Anyway, guys, stay sharp, stay active, peace.